Emily and Alexander were a couple who seemed perfectly matched. Emily was a kind-hearted woman, always ready with a warm smile and a cheerful spirit. She worked as a teacher, and her love for learning showed in the way she engaged with her students. Alexander, on the other hand, was a thoughtful man with a quiet strength. He worked as a software developer, often spending long hours focused on solving complex problems. He admired Emily's passion for life, finding her energy contagious and comforting. Their relationship began on a sunny afternoon in Central Park. Emily sat on a bench reading a book, completely absorbed in the stories inside. Alexander, jogging nearby, noticed the relaxed smile on her face. Drawn by her serene presence, he slowed down and struck up a conversation. They talked about their favorite books, and before long, they were both laughing freely. Their connection felt easy, as if they had known each other for years. As weeks passed, their relationship blossomed. They shared their dreams and fears, building a strong emotional foundation. Emily dreamed of traveling the world, while Alexander longed for a life filled with happiness and adventure. Yet, along with their dreams, they also faced challenges. Emily occasionally felt overwhelmed by Alexander's introverted nature. Sometimes, she wished he would express his feelings more openly. Alexander, in turn, worried about not being able to meet Emily's need for excitement in their life together. These differences posed a hint of struggle, but deep within, both felt a strong desire to understand and grow closer, believing that their love could help them overcome any obstacles they faced. As time went on, Emily began to feel a drift between herself and Alexander. She noticed that his quiet moments grew longer, and sometimes he would sit in silence while she shared her day. "You never listen," she wanted to say when he looked away, but she held the words back. Instead, she started to worry. Was she not interesting enough for him? Did he have other thoughts far away from her? One weekend, Emily invited Alexander to join her on a small adventure. They planned to go to a local art fair, filled with bright colors, interesting people, and live music. Emily loved these events, thinking they would bring laughter and joy. She imagined them walking together, sharing ice cream, and chatting endlessly about the art. When she told Alexander about her plan, he simply nodded, but his eyes did not sparkle like hers. "Sure, sounds fun," he replied softly. On the day of the fair, Emily was excited, wearing her favorite yellow dress. She could feel the happy energy in the air, but as they walked hand in hand, she sensed something was off. Alexander seemed distracted, his smile not reaching his eyes. Emily would point at colorful paintings, but Alexander only gave polite comments. "That one's nice," he said without real enthusiasm. "Alexander, are you okay?" she asked carefully, looking for a connection. But instead of a heartfelt response, he shrugged. "Yeah, I'm fine." This made Emily's heart sink. She wished he could tell her what was bothering him. Later, as they stood in front of a large painting that captured the ocean, Emily tried again. "I really love how it makes me feel. It's like I am right there by the waves," she said, hoping to spark his interest. But Alexander just nodded, almost absent-mindedly. Frustration began to bubble inside Emily. Why couldn't he just share in her excitement? Why did he always feel so far away? Later that evening, when they returned home, Emily was quiet while she prepared dinner. Alexander could see the change in her mood, the way her smile faded, replaced by thoughtful eyes. He wanted to reach out to her, to ask what was wrong, but he felt scared. What if he did not know how to help? What if he made things worse? After dinner, Emily finally spoke up, breaking the silence. "I feel like you're not really with me anymore." Her voice was soft but filled with worry. She looked at Alexander, hoping he would understand. "I miss us." Alexander sighed heavily, feeling a wave of self-doubt wash over him. He did not mean to create distance, but he had been struggling with his own feelings. "I'm here," he said quickly. But it did not feel like enough. He struggled to express what he felt inside, anxieties that had built up over time. "I don't understand," Emily said, her brow furrowing. "How can you be here, but still so far away?" The confusion hung in the air, an uncomfortable knot between them. Alexander sensed her frustration, and he felt a tightness in his own chest. I'm sorry, he finally admitted, feeling the weight of his insecurities. I'm trying to figure things out. His voice was humble, but it left both of them feeling lost. Emily wished for a step forward, but where was the way? This moment of miscommunication stirred an unsettling feeling that always remained unspoken. The love between them felt real, but so did the doubts, and in that silence, it made moving forward seem like climbing a mountain. As the days turned into weeks, the feeling of distance between Emily and Alexander lingered. Both of them tried to act normal, but beneath the surface, there was growing unease. Emily wanted to feel closer, yet Alexander's quiet nature made her feel lost. One evening, while scrolling through social media, Emily stumbled upon pictures of Alexander's coworker, Kelly. She was funny and confident, often seen laughing in their office group photos. A twinge of jealousy gripped Emily's stomach. Why did Alexander seem to spend so much time with her? When Emily brought this up, she was careful to approach it gently. I saw that Kelly is hosting a team dinner this week. Are you going? She asked with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Alexander replied, yes, it's important for networking, but didn't look her in the eye. His response sent a flicker of doubt racing through her mind. That night, Emily found it hard to sleep. She tossed and turned, replaying Alexander's words in her head, feeling a mix of jealousy and unease growing larger. Images of Alexander and Kelly laughing flashed across her thoughts, and when she finally fell asleep, it was not peaceful. The next morning, during breakfast, Emily couldn't push her worries away. She stared at her plate, pushing her toast around with her fork. Alexander noticed her silence. What's wrong? He asked, concern etched on his face. In that moment, instead of sharing her feelings, a sense of defensiveness took over Emily. She thought about how easy it was for Alexander to connect with others but difficult for him to understand her needs. Nothing, she muttered, swallowing her emotions. Alexander frowned slightly, frustrated by the wall that seemed to rise between them once again. Later in the day, Alexander headed to work, leaving Emily to sit with her unresolved feelings. She felt a knot tightening in her chest, her insecurities and fears clawed at her. Why did she feel left out? Did Alexander find someone more interesting? As the hours passed, her worry began to turn into resentment. It felt unfair that she had to battle inner doubts alone. On the evening of the team dinner, Emily wrestled with her emotions. Instead of giving in to jealousy, something shifted within her. She grabbed her phone and texted Alexander, asking if he would check in later. To her surprise, he replied quickly, saying he would call her as soon as he got home. During the dinner, Alexander found himself enjoying conversations with co-workers, but in the back of his mind lived a concern for Emily. He missed her and wondered how she was feeling. Yet, as laughter surrounded him, he felt the warmth of friendship that often felt foreign to his intimate connection with Emily. Once at home later that night, Alexander called Emily as promised. She picked up, and her voice was soft but laced with a hint of tension. How was the dinner? She asked, trying to sound casual. It was fine, Alexander replied. There was a moment of silence, hanging heavy. I thought of you. I wanted to share a few laughs with you. Emily hesitated, needing reassurance but feeling vulnerable. I wish I could have been there, she admitted, wanting to express how isolated she felt while he connected with others. Alexander's heart sank, realizing how his life brought misunderstandings into their relationship. They both felt the distance again, but this time, the opportunity for communication hovered between them. In that moment, Emily found a flicker of resolve. Slowly, under the growing tension, both partners began to step slightly forward, hoping that small wins could emerge from their struggles. They were learning together, piece by piece, that vulnerability could foster understanding, but only if they chose to share openly what lay heavy on their hearts. It was a rainy evening when the storm inside Emily and Alexander finally erupted. The heavy clouds rolled across the sky echoed the tension building between them. They had just returned from their respective days when Emily noticed a change in Alexander. He had come home later than usual, his energy low and his mood cloudy. Where were you? Emily asked, trying to keep her voice steady while feelings of frustration bubbled beneath the surface. You said you'd be home by dinner. Alexander sighed, running a hand through his hair. I told you it was a busy day. We wrapped up a project and went for drinks afterward. The sharpness in his tone caught Emily off guard. Drinks? With Kelly, she blurted out, a wave of emotions crashing over her. She felt her heart race, knowing she was stepping into dangerous territory, but she couldn't help it. You seem to find time for everyone else, but I feel like I don't even exist to you anymore. What do you want from me, Emily? Alexander shot back, his voice rising. I'm trying my best to balance my work and our life. You think it's easy? You're not the only one who feels alone. I have my own struggles, too. Tears brimmed in Emily's eyes, the hurt in Alexander's words cutting deep. You don't even see how your actions affect me. I wish you would just talk to me instead of shutting me out. Shutting you out? It feels like you're always accusing me of something, Alexander shot back, his frustration boiling over. I just want to deal with my work and leave my personal life for later. But you're always in my face about it. Emily's heart sank at the edge in his voice. I care about you, Alexander. It's not a crime to want to be included in your life. I just want us to be on the same page. What's wrong with being focused on my career? Everyone said this project was important for my future, Alexander argued, feelings of stress pouring out. He was caught between wanting her support and the need to defend himself for pursuing his goals. But, Alexander, it feels like your work is more important than our relationship. Emily felt the weight of her words, and with each moment that passed, they both felt the enormity of what they were saying. I can't believe you would say that. Alexander shouted, a mix of anger and confusion washing over his face. You hardly understand what I go through every day. Do you think it's just easy to deal with all the pressure? To work late and meet deadlines while you sit at home acting as if I'm the bad guy? Emily felt a sharp stab of sadness burst inside her. She opened her mouth to protest, but no words came out. All her feelings felt tangled now, and she felt a wave of defeat. You don't even care to think about how I feel. Maybe I should just solve my problems myself. With those words, the wall between them felt impenetrable. Both stood seething, each furious and heartbroken. Emily turned away, her cheeks wet with tears. Alexander stood frozen, his hands clenched into fists as confusion turned to regret. Neither spoke, the silence hung thickly in the air, filled with the rawness of emotions that felt unmanageable. They both had the weight of unspoken truths on their hearts, but the argument had pushed them to a breaking point without any way back yet. That night, Emily sat on the edge of their bed, heart heavy with regret. The silence of the room felt suffocating. She could still hear the sharp words they exchanged, and tears streamed down her cheeks as she wrapped her arms around herself. In that moment of intimacy with her own thoughts, she felt utterly alone and confused. With a trembling hand, she picked up her phone and called her best friend, Sarah. Emily, what's wrong? Sarah's voice was steady, sensing the distress in Emily's tone. I fought with Alexander again. I don't even know why things get this bad, Emily responded, frustration spilling out. I just wanted him to see me, to understand that I also have feelings and needs. Do you think it could be about more than just him? Maybe the pressure you two put on each other? Sarah suggested gently. Sometimes we don't notice how our words can create distance. Emily paused, considering Sarah's words. She thought back to all the times she felt jealous or unsupported. I feel like I'm losing him. If things stay like this, I don't know if we can survive. Meanwhile, in the living room, Alexander paced back and forth, replaying the argument like a record stuck on repeat. He knew he was struggling, but did that give him the right to take his stress out on Emily? He thought of her worried face and how much he had cared for her before all this began to feel overwhelming. He picked up a notebook that lay on the coffee table and began to jot down his feelings. I don't even recognize myself anymore, he wrote. I'm so focused on my work that I've built walls, not just around myself, but around Emily too. Am I really that selfish? Each word felt heavy but necessary, like weights being lifted from his heart. He recalled Emily's teary eyes, filled with hurt. He was so entrenched in his own struggles that he didn't see hers. She needs me, he wrote, realizing how easy it was to overlook her emotions while focusing on his own worries. As he continued to reflect, a wave of sadness washed over him. If I don't change, I will lose her. Back in her room, Emily opened her journal, the pages empty but waiting for her thoughts. Clutching her pen, she began to write about her feelings, her fears of being left behind in Alexander's pursuit for success, her need for connection, and how she missed the joy they once shared. I've grown scared of losing the man I love, but maybe I need to let him know I'm just as human as he is. In this solitude, both partners began to understand something profound. Emily realized that her jealousy was not just about Alexander, it was a reflection of her own insecurities and fears about their future. She understood she needed to express herself more openly, even if it felt vulnerable. Alexander noticed he had allowed work to define his life while neglecting their relationship. He realized that Emily was not just his partner but his anchor, the one who understood him best. It became clear that without change on both sides, their love could fade into the background, just like a painting cast aside. As the rain pelted against the window, both Emily and Alexander reached a point of insight, realizing that they stood at a crossroads, with their relationship hanging in the balance. If they truly wanted to be with each other, they had to confront their fears and learn to communicate. The weight of their emotions may have distanced them for now, but it was time to address the truth before it slipped through their fingers altogether. The air felt still in Emily and Alexander's apartment the next morning, heavy with the weight of their feelings. After hours of restless sleep, Emily finally stood up and walked to Alexander, who was sitting in the living room, staring out the window. She cleared her throat, feeling nervous but determined. "Alexander, we need to talk," she said softly. He turned to her, hope and caution flickering in his eyes. "I know," he replied, his voice hoarse. "I didn't sleep well. I thought a lot about what we said." Taking a deep breath, Emily nodded, summoning her courage. "I realize that I tend to let my fears get in the way of us. I shouldn't have accused you without truly knowing what you were feeling," she admitted, her tone firm but vulnerable. "You're managing a lot right now, and I got lost in my worries." Alexander's heart softened. He could feel his chest loosening but still struggled with guilt. "I'm sorry, too, Emily. I didn't mean to shut you out. But in a way, I also felt like I was alone in this. I didn't understand how my actions were hurting you," he confessed, searching her eyes. They both felt the fog of misunderstanding beginning to lift. In that moment, he made a decision. "I want us to work on this together," Alexander said, his voice steady. "I want to understand your feelings better, and I want to share my struggles too. I think talking could help us." Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her as she smiled faintly, feeling the connection rekindling. "I agree. We can set aside time to discuss our days, to share how we're feeling. Maybe even talk to someone who can guide us," she suggested, feeling that leap of faith stirring inside her. "So, therapy?" Alexander raised an eyebrow, gauging her reaction. "Why not? It could help us find a better way to communicate." Emily felt exhilarated at the idea. Talking to a neutral person could lend them insight neither of them could see alone. "Okay. Let's try it," Alexander responded, pride swelling inside him. To take a step toward fixing things felt right. "I don't want to keep losing you bit by bit." In the days that followed, both Emily and Alexander took taking action seriously, as they agreed on steps to improve their relationship. They signed up for a local couples therapy group and set aside a feelings hour every Saturday morning where they would share their experiences from the week without judgment. They agreed it was a start, a way to rebuild the connection that had been strained. On their first therapy session, they walked hand in hand, both feeling butterflies of anxiety mixed with anticipation. With each session, new tools unfolded before them, like keys opening locked doors in their hearts. They learned how to express their emotions without blame, returning the warmth to their interactions. They practiced active listening, ensuring that each felt heard and valued. They exchanged loving words, little reminders that they were still a team. One evening, after attending a particularly helpful session, they sat together on the weekends, sipping tea and reviewing their journals filled with newfound thoughts and feelings. "I never thought we could come back from where we were," Alexander admitted, looking into Emily's eyes with sincerity. "Me neither. But I feel so much closer to you now, Alexander." A warmth spread between them as genuine smiles broke through. They each understood that it would take time and effort, but their relationship had turned a corner, filled with a newer understanding and hope. In those moments of connection, Emily and Alexander realized that they were fighting for each other, building something strong together, ready to face the world as a united front. Their journey was far from over, but that link felt much lighter as they chose to embrace the process, hands firmly held together. The weeks that followed their therapy sessions brought a blend of excitement and awkwardness for Emily and Alexander. They had taken their first steps toward change, but adjusting to their new ways felt both refreshing and challenging. One Saturday morning, as they sat on the couch sipping coffee together, Alexander turned to Emily. "How about we try Feelings Hour today?" He hoped to keep the positive momentum going. Emily smiled, a little nervous but eager. "Okay. I'll go first," she said, feeling the tension in her shoulders. "This week has been stressful at work. I found myself feeling overwhelmed, and I didn't know how to share it with you." Alexander nodded, encouraging her. "I appreciate you sharing that with me. When you felt that way, I sensed your frustration, but I didn't realize it was about work." He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "I'm here for you, no matter what is happening." "That means a lot, Alexander," she replied, feeling grateful. It lifted her spirits to know he was truly listening. Yet, as they continued sharing, Emily couldn't shake the feelings of vulnerability that made her heart race. "Sometimes I worry it's hard to let you in. Talking about feelings is new for me, and I'm afraid I might stumble." Alexander smiled softly, sensing her struggle. "You don't have to be perfect. I sometimes worry about my own responses or that I will say the wrong thing, but we're here to learn together. It's okay to be awkward." This shared understanding offered Emily relief, a recognition that they were both navigating uncharted waters together. As they continued their weekly Feelings Hour, they began to experience little hiccups. One evening at dinner, Alexander tried to express gratitude for Emily's cooking, but his words came out clumsy. This is good," he said, his voice trailing off awkwardly. "I mean, it's really good. I love how you add spices." Emily chuckled softly, appreciating his attempt. "Thank you, Alexander. You don't have to try too hard. I just want to hear your honest thoughts." His genuine acknowledgement made her smile, easing the awkwardness. They were learning together how to navigate this, step by step, yet old habits sometimes resurfaced. Alexander caught himself entering his self-protective mode during tough work weeks. One evening after a long day, he came home grumpier than usual, shutting down when Emily asked how his day went. "Alexander," she asked, concern filling her voice. "Are you okay?" He felt the silent question weighing on him. At first, frustration bubbled inside him, and he snapped. "You wouldn't understand. I just need some space." Emily felt her heart drop, the sting of his words echoing in her mind. "I thought we were working on this together," she murmured, her voice trembling. Realizing he had slipped back into old behaviors, Alexander sighed deeply, guilt washing over him. "I'm sorry, Emily," he began, his voice softening. "I didn't mean to push you away. It's just, sometimes I don't know how to handle the pressure." Taking a deep breath, she offered him a chance to explain himself. "Can you tell me what you're feeling?" Slowly, Alexander opened up about the stress piling on at work and how it felt overwhelming. "I promised I would communicate better," he admitted, sadness intertwining with his thoughts. "But in that moment, I just froze up. I don't want to go back to how we were." The vulnerability in that moment felt raw, yet it was also a breakthrough. Emily reached out, placing her hand over his. "It's okay, Alexander. If we stumble, we can pick each other up," she reassured him, hoping they could find their footing again together. That evening, as they sat closer together, there was a renewed sense of hope. Though they faced challenges and awkward moments, Emily and Alexander felt more committed than ever to fighting for their relationship. They both realized that these efforts were small steps towards something bigger, understanding and love that carried the strength to overcome struggles, one heartfelt conversation at a time. One crisp autumn evening, Emily and Alexander decided to take a walk in the nearby park. The trees were painted in vibrant colors, golden yellows, fiery reds, and deep oranges. It was the kind of night that felt perfect for reflection and togetherness. They stepped onto the quiet path hand in hand, their fingers interlacing as they began to feel a sense of comfort returning between them. As they walked, Alexander glanced at Emily, observing her joyful smile as she pointed out the leaves falling from the trees. "Look at that one. It's the same color as your favorite sweater," he said, a soft smile forming on his lips. Emily giggled, feeling a rush of warmth. "You always notice the little things." She could feel the connection between them spark anew, and it felt like a blanket of comfort surrounding them. "I love that about you," she admitted, turning to him with genuine affection in her eyes. Alexander felt a flutter in his chest, knowing that he had been actively working to appreciate her more. "And I love that we're back to sharing these moments. It means a lot to me, Emily." His heartfelt words wrapped around her lightly, and for the first time in a while, it felt easy to breathe. As they continued walking, they stumbled upon a small clearing where families played in the grass, laughter blending with the rustling leaves, all signs of life. Emily spotted a group of children playing with a soccer ball and felt a pang of nostalgia. "Do you remember when we used to play soccer at the park together?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with playful memories. Alexander chuckled, an image of their playful antics warming his heart. "Of course. You used to run right past me, stealing the ball every time," he teased. "But it was more than just a game, it was a reminder of happier, simpler times." Emily's laughter filled the space between them. "I had my skills. Maybe we should play again sometime. It could be fun." Her suggestion felt light, and she could see a genuine smile spreading across Alexander's face. They were not just reliving old memories, they were building bridges from the past into their present. Once they found a bench, they sank into it, still holding hands. "I've been thinking a lot about us," Alexander said, his expression turning serious. "I understand now how important it is to communicate and be open, and I'm really trying." Emily nodded earnestly, feeling the sincerity behind his words. "I do, too. I think we've both learned that vulnerability brings us closer. It's okay to let the other in, to show ourselves even when it's messy." Alexander smiled, noting how this awareness made their relationship feel stronger. "I'm grateful that we didn't give up on each other. It's easier now to be honest." He paused, his heart full of love for Emily. "I want us to always remember that we're on the same team." In that moment, as their eyes locked, Emily realized she felt safe with Alexander again. The trust that had been shaken was slowly stitching itself back together. "You're right. We can get through anything as long as we talk." Alexander squeezed her hand gently, the warmth growing between them. "And I want to make it a habit to cherish these little moments, like this one." Their laughter echoed softly through the park as they talked about their dreams and plans for the future. They shared thoughts about traveling and the kind of life they both envisioned. It felt so easy to be connected again as they opened up, layer by layer. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in warm hues, Emily and Alexander looked at each other and saw love shining in the little things, the way they listened and how their hands fit together. They had come through the storm and found calm. In that fleeting moment, they understood they were building something beautiful, one honest conversation, one shared experience at a time, determined to nurture the bond they were weaving. As time passed, Emily and Alexander continued to strengthen their relationship, building a solid foundation that allowed them to flourish as individuals and as a couple. They both developed a newfound confidence in themselves and in each other, the lingering shadows of their past struggles becoming fainter with each shared moment. With every therapy session, they learned how to communicate more openly and practice vulnerability. Alexander found himself breathing easier. No longer burdened by the need to keep his feelings to himself, he now welcomed Emily's inquiries about his day. He shared the highs and lows of his work. Emily, in turn, explored her own passions and interests, growing more secure in her identity as she shared her challenges candidly. They learned that it was so much easier to support one another when they understood what was happening in their hearts and minds. One afternoon, they planned a small getaway to a nearby cabin for the weekend. The crisp air, surrounded by tall trees and the warmth of nature's glow, felt like a fresh start. As they settled in, Emily prepared their favorite meal together, sharing laughs in the kitchen as they chopped vegetables and mixed ingredients. With each shared task, the connection simmered and ignited, bringing happiness that lightened their hearts. After dinner, while watching the fire crackle warmly, Emily turned to Alexander. "Let's make a promise to always share how we're feeling, no matter how hard it seems," she suggested, encouraging a reflection that had become quite natural to them. "I think it helps me so much to know what's going on in your heart." Alexander nodded, his gaze sincere as sparks of the fire danced in the darkness. "Absolutely. I want us to feel safe enough to be honest, and I'm committed to doing that. You mean so much to me, and together, I believe we can tackle anything." Emily felt a swell of warmth in her chest as she smiled at him, knowing how genuine he was. "We've grown so much already, and it's like a new beginning for us." With the soft flicker of the fire reflecting in their eyes, Alexander took out a small box from his jacket pocket. Emily raised an eyebrow, curious. He opened it, revealing a simple silver ring. "I know it's not a big deal," he began, the nervous anticipation in his voice easy to hear, "but this symbolizes the promise I want to make to you. Not just to love you, but to remind you that our growth together matters. That we're moving forward." Emily stared wide-eyed at the ring, her heart delighted. "Oh, Alexander, it's beautiful." She put her hands over her mouth, feeling overwhelmed with joy. This gesture meant more than just a piece of jewelry. It represented their journey, their struggles, and their triumphs. Alexander slipped the ring onto her finger, feeling a rush of warmth as Emily's eyes sparkled. "It's a token of our bond, a promise that I'm committed to us and continuing to build a future together." Emily's heart swelled with gratitude. Taking his hand, she kissed him gently. "I'll always cherish this promise. I believe in us and our journey, and I can't wait to see where life takes us next." In that moment, surrounded by the warmth of the fire and the fading light of day, Emily and Alexander felt a renewed sense of hope and possibility. They had emerged stronger from their challenges, and the love between them had deepened. They had learned valuable lessons that transformed their relationship, about sharing, understanding, and growing together. With a strong sense of unity and optimism, the future was filled with endless possibilities. As they gazed into each other's eyes, they knew that no matter what lay ahead, they would face it together, hand in hand, with love as their guiding light. Their journey was just beginning.